What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu, and you're watching the TF Movie Show. This is just a web series where we talk about the Transformers movie franchise. That's right, you heard right. This is the TF Movie Show, and it's all about the Transformers live-action movie franchise from Paramount Pictures. And this is one of several new web series that I'm starting for 2018. Bumblebee's journey has come to an end, and I put a lot of thought into what the TF Movie Show really is. And in essence, it's really about the Transformers movie franchise as a whole, but I decided to start this web series because, well, Bumblebee's journey has not only come to an end, but Bumblebee's journey is really just about one character, one film, a film that only comes with 4 characters, and a film that's coming out in December of 2018. But between now and then, there's a lot of other stuff going on with the Transformers movie franchise. And that's why I decided that I want to start a brand new web series called the TF Movie Show. Because this is a show about the Transformers movies. And we're going to talk about the Transformers Bumblebee solo film. We're going to talk about the CG animated prequel. We're going to talk about, if that's even happening, we're going to talk about the supposed reboot. And we're also going to talk about the previous 5 films from director Michael Bay, because there's still a lot of stuff that I want to talk about. There's actually some things that I want to get off my chest still about Transformers Last Night that I haven't even talked about, but we'll get into that. However, this is the very first episode of the TF Movie Show. This is episode 1, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that reboot that could actually happen. And I know that you guys have already read the title, and that is why the Transformers reboot is actually a good idea. And I'm here to convince you guys that it's actually a good idea. Like, this is actually a good thing. And I put a lot of thought into this, and I think that by the end of this episode, you guys are all going to agree with me. So the TF reboot is a good thing, okay? I'm just going to say it straight out right now. It's a good thing. It's a positive thing. Change is positive, and we're going to see a number of changes with this reboot. And everybody agrees with me. Think about it. Look deep down inside. Not a person will really disagree with this. Even if you claim that you disagree with the idea of a reboot, if you search deep down inside, at the end of it all, you will actually believe and agree that a reboot is a good idea. Now, the only reason why a lot of people don't think that it's a good idea, or rather disagree about the idea of a reboot as a whole, is because Transformers Last Night ended on a cliffhanger. It ended with the tease and the introduction of Quintessa and Unicron. All right, that's a pretty big deal. That's a massive, massive cliffhanger. And that's the first time a Transformers sequel actually ended in a cliffhanger. It did end, in Transformers, it did end in a cliffhanger in the 2007 film with Starscream, going into outer space. But in the other sequels, it never actually ended in a cliffhanger. They operated as standalone films. But Transformers Last Night ended in a way where you're like, okay, I want to see more. And that's the reason why a lot of fans disagree with a reboot. They want to see where Quintessa will go. They want to see what will happen with Unicron. And that's a pretty big deal. I want to see what happens with Quintessa and Unicron. I want to know what's going on with that. And the fact that they announced a reboot without even wrapping up this story, that's left a lot of fans disappointed, myself included. I got mixed feelings about this whole reboot thing, but I put a lot of thought into it, and then I later realized that this is actually a good idea. They don't have to wrap up the Quintessa Unicron thing. If they choose not to, they can just reboot it, and now they can do a lot more things with it. And let me explain how they're going to do this. So, first of all, I'm going to explain why the reboot is a good idea. Look, the film is coming out in 2021, okay? 3 years feels like a long time, but really it isn't. It's 2018 now. Not only is it 2018, it's the beginning part of 2018. So we got 2019, 2020, 21. That's 3.5 years before the potential Transformers reboot is happening, because they're typically released in summer of the year, summer blockbuster movie season. So let's just assume that the Transformers reboot is coming out in summer of 2021. That's 3.5 years from now, and that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time, and in terms of length, and time duration. But really, is 3 years really a long time to wait? I don't really think so, because these films typically take a minimum of 2 years, and we kept on getting movies pumped out, like Transformers movies pumped out like every 2 years, and then they took 3 years between Dark of the Moon and Age of Extinction, and another 3 years between Age of Extinction and Transformers Last Night. It still didn't really feel like a really long time, because there was a lot going on. Like, we were kept busy every few days and weeks with all kinds of news with regards to pre-production, early stages of development, principal photography, that's where all the action happened, and then post-production, which eventually led to marketing, and then which led to a lot of marketing, which led to the film. So when you really think about it, it didn't feel like a really long time, even though it really, in essence, was 3 years. So 3 years is pretty standard. It feels like a long time, but really, it's not that long if we're kept in a loop about what is really going on, and that is still gonna happen. It's not anything longer than 3 years. And think about it. By the time Bumblebee comes out in December 2018, that's the ending part of 2018. And then, a couple weeks after that, we'll be in 2019, which essentially means there's only 2 years. Or if you want to be like completely technical with that, 2.5 years. Okay, so there you go. It's really isn't that long of a time duration between films, or at least it won't feel like that. That is if, in fact, Hasbro and Paramount really have a Transformers reboot happening. Now, let's go back in time and look at some of the franchise reboots in the past from Hollywood and how long they actually took. And let's go back to the oldest film that actually got rebooted, Planet of the Apes. This is one of the oldest franchises that kept on getting rebooted. The last Planet of the Apes film came out in 1973, and then it got remade by Tim Burton in 2001. That's a 24-year gap. That's the longest gap with regards to these reboots, okay? And then in 2011, that's when Matt Reeves took over, and that was a 10-year gap. Now let's take a look at Star Wars, okay? Original trilogy and prequel trilogy, that's a 16-year gap. And then between prequel trilogy and sequel trilogy, that's a 10-year gap, okay? Now let's look at Star Trek. The last Star Trek from the TNG was Insurrection. That came out in 2002, and then J.J. Abrams 2009. That's 6 years, okay? Now you can see that the amount of years that it's taking is getting smaller and smaller. Let's take a look at Hulk. Ang Lee's Hulk came out in 2003. Then the Incredible Hulk, which eventually ended up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, was in 2008. That is 4 years. That's a 4-year gap, okay? And then what am I talking about? That's a 5-year gap. That's a 5-year gap, okay? Between 2003 to 2008, that's a 5-year gap. And then we saw Hulk again, played by Mark Ruffalo, in Avengers, and that's only 4 years. That's a 4-year gap, okay? Let's take a look at Batman. From Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin to Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, that was an 8-year gap, okay? From Dark Knight trilogy to the DC Extended Universe, that's a 4-year gap when they came out with Batman vs. Superman. And finally, the smallest gap comes from Spider-Man, okay? The Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy came out in, the last one was in 2007, and then it got rebooted to the Amazing Spider-Man films in 2012. That's 5 years. That was a 5-year gap. And then the Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out in 2014, followed by Spider-Man's very first appearance in Captain America Civil War, played by Tom Holland. That's 2 years. That is the smallest amount of time, the shortest amount of time for a reboot to happening. So don't tell me that rebooting Transformers is too short of a time, okay? Because rebooting Spider-Man only took 2 years, and it ended up being successful. But then again, it's the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they can't seem to screw anything up. Okay, so a rebooting Transformers, I don't think it's too soon. I think it's a good idea, and I think now is a good time. Because let's be real here. This is a business. Paramount Pictures owns this license. Paramount Pictures owns this license to this franchise, and they shouldn't just sit on it and delay. You know, if they got a great idea, they should put it together, put it in writing, put it on a script, and put it on the screen eventually. So I don't think that they should wait any longer. Get the Bumblebee movie out, and then if that proves to be a success, work on this reboot. That's what they should do, and I hope that's actually happening. Now, Hasbro and Paramount, you know, they're doing this because they know that it could potentially work. They are copying Disney. And what has Disney been doing? They've been making multi-billions of dollars through these franchises that they own. Star Wars and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In essence, they are both extremely successful. And what do you do when someone is successful? When your competitor is successful, you copy them, okay? Paramount and Hasbro, they're trying to mimic the success of Disney with what they've been doing with Marvel and Star Wars. Now, they put together this writer's room, you know, back in, 2015? They put together this writer's room in 2015, and then, or maybe 2014. In the later part of 2014, they announced the writer's room. And they wrapped up the writer's room in spring of 2015, okay? And they thought it would be a great idea within this writer's room to come up with all these stories and create the Transformers Cinematic Universe. Unfortunately, that was just an idea that was a pipe dream. It was just squashed instantly with the lack of box office success from Transformers Last Night. Unfortunately, you know, I think they had a great idea, but it was executed poorly, and then Transformers Last Night killed that, and I don't think it's anything that is really to be embarrassed about, because look at Universal Pictures with their Universal Monsters Reboot, a franchise that nobody asked for. They tried to make it happen, and it was dead on arrival, okay? So, you know, Paramount, you know, switching gears, it's not that big of a deal. I think they should still try to recuperate what they have and try to make something out of it. And what they're going to come up with is this reboot, which could essentially be a really, really good idea. At least that's what I believe. Okay, but right now is not a good time to announce it. You might realize that, or you might notice that at Hasbro Investors Day, they put out all the different properties that they want to make live action films into, like G.I. Joe, for example, and Dungeons and Dragons, and this other one that I am not too familiar with. And then they have Paramount Hasbro event film. What could that possibly be? Obviously, they're putting that slot for Transformers, but they don't want to announce that it's Transformers too early, because you know what happens when they announce it too early? Well, same thing that happened to the Transformers Cinematic Universe. They announced it, but that I won't say it's dead on arrival, but it was dead it was dead later on. Okay, it was just an idea that kept on losing and losing enthusiasm. So that's really, really unfortunate, but they can still salvage something out of it, and that's why they should tread carefully. They need to tread carefully, and by doing that, they need to not announce this reboot officially until they see something come out of Bumblebee, something good come out of Bumblebee. Bumblebee's going to come out in December 2018. There's a lot of moments, or rather a lot of opportunities for them to announce it. I still think it's too early for them to announce it, either at HasCon or San Diego Comic-Con. Way too early. Just put out the toys on display, but don't announce whether the reboot is actually happening yet. Wait till the success of Bumblebee and then announce it. Make an official announcement later on, an official press release at the next Hasbro's Investors Day in Toy Fair 2019. I think that's the right time to announce it, because if they announce it now, after Bumblebee is a failure, if it will be a failure, that's a bad idea. And then, you know what, that Hasbro Paramount event film, they might as well make it My Little Pony. But in any case, Bumblebee needs to be successful for this to happen, okay? So, there you have it, okay? Anyways, how do I feel about a reboot? I mean, you know, a lot of people don't like the idea of rebooting, but a lot of people also feel like a reboot is a good idea. And I'm going to tell you why. I want to convince you and explain to you why I think it's a great idea. But first, I'll explain how I feel about the idea of a reboot. Sure, fine, I said it was a good idea, but I was actually quite disappointed when I found out about the fact that they were gonna reboot it. I was quite disappointed because just like everybody else, I wanted to see that Quintessa Unicron storyline. I wanted to see that. I wanted to see the Bumblebee prequel, and then afterwards, I wanted to see the CG animated Transformers 1 Cybertron prequel, and then I wanted to see the final film, Transformers 7. And why am I calling it Transformers 7? Transformers 6. Okay, I wanted to see Transformers 6, and I wouldn't have even minded if it was directed by Michael Bay. I just wanted to see them introduce Unicron and then wrap it up and conclude it. 6 films directed by Michael Bay. It's done. It's over with. Okay, I wanted to see them wrap that up. Okay, but we're not getting that anymore. So then I put a lot of thought into it. Like, you know, you just gotta accept it. You just gotta accept what's put in front of you. And the fact is that I'm just happy that we're getting these live action films at all. And now I want to tell you and convince you why a Transformers reboot is a good thing. Okay, it's a good thing. And there are 4 reasons why. 4 reasons. Okay, new designs, new characters, a new vision, and new stories. 4 things. Let me elaborate on each thing. New designs. What does that equate to? New toys, new characters, no more recycled designs. We know Michael Bay's design styles, you know, they look a certain way. Their Decepticons look like insects, aliens, and that's the way he wanted them to look. A lot of sharp and jagged edges on the Decepticons, okay? As for the Autobots, they all look a uniform way, but they look a certain way, and we know that. We can distinguish that these designs are Michael Bay designs, okay? So new designs, something entirely different, okay? New characters. Brand new characters that are not always the same characters that we've seen before. So, you know, there doesn't always have to be Optimus Prime and Bumblebee, although they are the staple of this brand, but there are other characters. Characters we've never even seen or heard of. Not even in the comics, not even in the cartoons. Brand new characters. That is an awesome thing. Essentially, with brand new characters, you can have a brand new Autobot team, a brand new Decepticon team. I'm talking about in the live-action universe, because you know in the most recent rendition of an animated series, they had a brand new Autobot team, and you know, that was the Autobot team. Now they can do that with a live-action film. So I would love to see a brand new Autobot team that isn't just Optimus Prime and Bumblebee and characters that we've seen before. Like, we've seen Hound, Drift, and Crosshairs in 2 movies already. All right, Age of Extinction and Transformers Last Night. They can change all that without even explaining why. New vision. New vision. That's a very important thing. We've seen the Michael Bay vision in 5 films already. There's not going to be Michael Bay anymore. A lot of people don't want Michael Bay back. I have a lot of respect for him as a director, as an artist, as a filmmaker. I love his work ethic, but I think it's time to move on. Like, I've basically like had enough, and I wouldn't want to see Transformers films directed by Michael Bay forever. I want to see a new vision, and we need that new vision. And you know, we're kind of used to his style now. And now I want to see something new. So that's always a good thing. New vision. New stories. This is a pretty big deal. They're not bound by the rules of the way the previous films happened. You know, I'm talking about continuity and previous events. They're not bound by those rules. They're not bound by the way Optimus Prime is, or the way Bumblebee doesn't talk. Bumblebee can talk in these brand new stories. Bumblebee just cannot talk in his Michael Bay version of Bumblebee. You know what I'm saying? You know, and they can get away from certain characters being dead. They can come back, even though we've seen characters come back and forth. But I'm saying that because some characters are dead for good, like for example Jazz or RC, they're not bound by that. In a reboot, they can come back to life. So that's why we can get brand new stories And we can have characters like Jazz back, and they can do something with it. So that's why I think that with these 4 elements, we have something great on our hands. A reboot can be really great because, let's be completely honest here, Michael Bay's Transformers franchise can only be so great. It's reached its peak greatness. And as with the first film, and to some people, Dark of the Moon, but I felt that it reached peak greatness. It cannot go any better than that. With the reboot, you're starting fresh. New designs, new characters, new vision, most importantly, new stories. And I want to see that. Okay? Don't you want to see that? Think deep down inside. Don't you want to see new stories? Don't you want to see Quintessa as not even Quintessa? Don't you want to see Quintessa as an actual planet? And don't you want to see Unicron as an actual planet-eating planet robot? You know what I'm saying? In a reboot, they're not bound by the rules that Unicron comes from Earth. You know, that's just ridiculous. But I was interested in it because, like, it's new. But it is still ridiculous. And Quintessa doesn't have to take the form of an Asian woman. Quintessa can be an actual planet, just like the way it's portrayed in the 1986 movie. You know what I'm saying? So, there you have it. Anyways, so there you have it. What about you guys? What do you guys think? How do you guys feel about a reboot? You know, are you still against the idea of a reboot? Or after what I've talked about, do you feel that there is potential for some great things to happen? There's always potential. Okay, so many people, don't want to reboot. I've read YouTube and Facebook comments. They're absolutely against reboot. But if you look at those same exact comment section, you'll see a lot of people who really want a reboot to happen. And it looks like a pretty large number. So what do you want, really? What do you want? I've explained to you what I want, but change is good. I've changed my attitude about it. I was disappointed, but now I'm excited. So what do you guys want? Are you for or against the reboot? Let me know in the comment section below. I mean, you've been with me, the Ragin Nation, since the very beginning. I started this YouTube channel in 2010, and you guys have been really excited and enthusiastic about all these films, all these sequels. But along the way, I've seen a decline. I've seen a decline in the number of fans. I've seen a decline in the quality of storytelling. So, do you think that this should continue the same way and continue to see a decline? I don't think so. Hasbro and Paramount, they don't want to see a decline of their product. They want to see it go up. That's why they make reboots. That's why Hollywood reboots things. They want to see a better version of what they already created in the past. So, what I want you guys to do is I put down a link to a poll. There's a poll in the description box, and I want to know within this pool, within this sample of people that I'm reaching out to, do you want to see a reboot? Yes or no? Answer me in the poll, this Twitter poll that I posted with the link below. Go check that out. We're not gonna get an announcement for a reboot until Bumblebee comes out. And at the very, very earliest, HasCon, which is happening in wait a minute, there's no HasCon this year. HasCon is in 2019. There's no HasCon this year because there was a HasCon in 2017. So if anything, SDCC, San Diego Comic-Con, is the earliest time they can make a big announcement about it, but I really don't think that's happening. They're gonna make that official press release either after the release of Bumblebee or on Hasbro Investors Day right before Toy Fair. That's when it's gonna happen. But not before that, okay? So there you have it. Anyways, before I end this episode, I want to give a big shout out to Hovan Louis, David Baliashvili, Devin Pender, and also Brian Nichols. I met Brian Nichols in our most recent filming of the A3U review night, and I found out that he has a YouTube channel. It's called Transfixed. Why don't you head over to his YouTube channel? I'm going to provide the link in the description box below. And he talks about Transformers, does reviews, and his YouTube channel is Transfixed. Head over there and show some support by hitting that subscribe button. All right? Anyways, I want to leave you with a final comment before I end this episode. And that is, they can actually do better. Paramount and Hasbro can actually do better. Somewhere out there, there is a really, really great Transformers film. I'm talking about high quality level storytelling. I'm talking about storytelling and satisfying storytelling and satisfying entertainment value on the same level as a film from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, I don't want to always compare franchises, but I think that all the films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe are good to great to outstanding. And I think that somewhere out there is a Transformers film that is good to great to outstanding. And I don't believe that Transformers films will always stay at the same level. I think that they can be outstanding. We just have to have the right storytellers, from the writers to the producers to the directors. So that can actually happen, and I'm waiting for it. And there you have it. I've said a lot of stuff, and I'm going to end this episode right now. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below, and make sure you fill out that poll. Make sure you say yes, you are for a reboot, or yes or no, you're against the reboot. Do that in the comment section. Do that on the link, the Twitter link, and there you have it. As always, if you enjoyed this very first episode of the TF Movie Show, hit the like button, subscribe to YouTube channel, like button, Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me, Twitter, Ragin Nation. My name is Alex. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.